Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E. Ingle. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR, or maybe from some of these other Locked On shows that we do. And today, we got to talk about Brock Purdy. He found some pretty good success against the Titans, but against the Colts is another big game looming for Brock.
Hey everyone, I'm Dwayne Boyd, four-time Super Bowl champion with the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm going to talk about the 49er defense. They got to catch it. They got to step up, because last week the game was all in the hands of the offense. The offense bailed them out last week. You know, anytime you have a game with no punts, hey, it's a great game.
What's happening, everybody? Brian Peacock here, Locked On 49ers. And I think we got to talk about Phillip Rivers making the old guys proud. But I think there is a clear reason why he was not going to be successful against the San Francisco 49ers in Week 16.
All that and more on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show starting right now.
To all the faithful, it's the 49ers Squad. Everything San Francisco 49ers every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from Levi's Stadium. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. For those faithful to the Bay, the 49ers Squad Show starts now.
Thanks so much, everyone, tuning in to another edition of the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Shout out all our everydayers making us your first listen for everything you need to know 49ers. Make sure you're subscribed on the YouTube channel on whatever platform you're using to get your podcast, and you'll never miss a show. And why would you want to miss a show? We got four-time Super Bowl champion Dwayne Boyd and one half of the Locked On 49ers podcast, Brian Peacock here. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. And man, I hope you guys took what we were telling you last week on for the FanDuel, the FanDuel pick of the week. We were giving you 49ers to cover, to lay the points and whoop the Titans. It was minus 12.5, and the 49ers won by 13. So there you go. Another hit for us and FanDuel, and another win for the 49ers. And Brock Purdy, I want to start there because he looked really good against the Titans, but it's the Titans. We talked a lot about how this is not a very good team, how this Titans team is, one of the worst by all metrics defensively. And Brock Purdy did what we kind of expected him to do. He 23 of 30, 295 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. A pretty damn good day at the yard for Brock. So can he keep it going against the Colts is my big question. And what do you think, Brian? Do you think he's going to be able to repeat this type of success against a Colts defense that's been, I want to say, a little up and down this year, but obviously added Sauce Gardner at the deadline to kind of shore up that pass defense? Do you think that he can get it going again?
No doubt. I mean, Brock Purdy has proven time and time and again that he can operate Kyle Shanahan's offense at a high level. You would like to have more playmakers on the outside. You hope Ricky Pearsall can play in this game because it's really nice to have an extra weapon out there. In little yak, we talked a lot about on this podcast the lack of yak bros for the 49ers offense this year and the lack of speed. So seeing old school yak bro George Kittle making plays after the catch. They only needed one catch from Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield last week as well. So, he's always there if the 49ers need him to be a pass catcher to match up problem. So I like Brock Purdy to continue to play well because he's a good quarterback. And I think he learned a lot from his 3 interception performance against the Carolina Panthers, being a little bit smarter with the football. He's still out there making plays and running around. So you'd love seeing that. After the bye week, coming off the toe injury, I think that was really helpful for him. So I don't see any reason why Brock Purdy's not going to continue to be the quarterback that we've seen from him. Just make sure you're not throwing the ball to the other football team, and the 49ers are going to be in good shape on offense. 49ers up to a top 2 or 3 offense in the NFL. Yeah. EPA, expected points added. So despite not having Brandon Ayuk, despite certain weirdness, man, Brock Purdy, San Francisco 49ers offense, it's playing at a high level right now. And who's actually playing better than anybody on offense is Trent Williams. He kind of started slow this season. Old guy, you start to think, man, is he done? Do you have to make plans for a future left tackle? And week 15, week 16, 2 best weeks of the year so far for big Trent Williams. So that's really nice to see him hitting his stride here late in the year. He kind of, I think the first portion of the season was kind of his extended training camp.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the whole offense starting to hit their stride at the right time of year. And so often that is kind of what you want to see going into the playoffs is it's the team that's hitting their stride at the right time that makes the big run. And the more that this 49ers stretch of wins and solid play continues, the more I'm starting to believe that there's actually a path to the Super Bowl, which would be a home Super Bowl. And that would be pretty damn cool for the 49ers. But obviously, first you got to get through who's in front of you, and this week it's the Colts, and it's Lou Anarumo's defense. And Dwayne, what do you think about this defensive unit? Because it's a little bit, it's all over the place. I mean, they will throw a lot of different looks at you. They'll blitz a lot. So it's kind of unpredictable, and it seems like Lou tries to kind of scheme up things specifically for the team that he's playing each week. So what do you expect to see from this defense this week in the Colts? What are they going to throw at Brock Purdy and the 49ers offense?
Well, I think what they're going to do with Purdy is the 49ers offense, they do a great job of playing keep away, right? And with the short passing game. And some of the balls that Purdy threw last week, it was like, man, they was close. They was real close to being intercepted. It seems like the ball was in the air for a while. And it's like, hey, and the Colts secondary is going to put a number on the 49ers receivers, I think, because last week they did a great job against the Seahawks. And I think with what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at two teams that's going to be relying on the run more than anything, because one team is going to play keep away. Okay, that's going to be the 49ers, and the other team is going to play keep away. We're not going to let Brock Purdy get on the field. Once we get him out of rhythm too, because last week he didn't have a threat of. I think, what was he sacked? He was sacked 2 times, but I don't think it's going to be like that this time. I think the Colts will pressure him because they have guys who can cover, and they feel like the only matchups that we're going to be facing is going to be a matchup with George Kittle. Who's going to cover him? Because they like to play cover 2, and cover 2 is a tight end's dream.
Yeah, and hopefully Kittle can find some of those soft spots underneath and use those legs to get some extra yards, like Brian was talking about he was able to do against the Titans. Interesting thing about the Colts defense. Run defense, top 6 in the NFL as far as yards per game this season. Pass defense, bottom 2 in the NFL as far as yards per game this season. Obviously, a big reason that they wanted to shore that up was going out and they went out and got Sauce Gardner to do that and paid a king's ransom to get him. But it seemed like the right move at the right time for a team who at the time had a guy who was probably on track to be, the best comeback player this season, Daniel Jones, who was just resurrecting his career in Indiana, gets injured. And now you have Phillip Rivers coming in, which I want to get to in a second. But before we get off the topic of this defense, this Colts defense, although it's got some weird metrics, right? Like I said, top 6 in the NFL in holding opponents to low rushing yards and bottom 2 in stopping the pass. And then you look at what they did last week against the Seahawks, who have been, I want to say, a little erratic offensively at certain times this season. But all in all, they have JSN, who's been probably the best wide receiver in the NFL this season. And they've had a pretty decent 2-headed monster at the running back position with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. The Colts pitched as far as maybe not a shutout, but they did not let the Seahawks into the end zone a single time. It gave up 6 field goals, and the Seahawks did end up winning that game. But that was a pretty impressive stand by that defense to repeatedly shut this Seahawks team out of the end zone. And they really limited them on the ground, man. 2.3 yards per carry as a team. Not a very good day for Kenneth Walker, specifically under 2 yards per carry. So if the 49ers are going to control this game on the ground, how are they going to be able to do that, Dwayne, against a defense that has been pretty run stout so far this year?
Well, I think the 49ers, the best thing that they do is when they get into base personnel, 21 personnel, or when they get into 12 personnel with the two tight ends in the game. That's when the running game comes alive, I think. And it's great against the pass, too, because the thing that helped them last week, the 49ers, was the play action pass. That's the key to their offense. And when you look at the 49ers, they struggle when they're behind, okay, when guys just line up and tee off. When they got a good balanced offense running pass with play action, it's tough to handle. So that's what the 49ers are going to have to do is get their play action pass working. And also use Robinson more, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, the 49ers have the weapons, I feel like, to still be able to find some success against the Colts. But as Brian was kind of discussing earlier, I think if you do end up missing Ricky Pearsall this week, that's going to be kind of a big loss, because I know that Ricky's been up and down this year at various points, but this is not the time that you want to lose a guy like that who is coming off a big game, 6 catches for 96 yards. And he had some big plays. He ripped off a 38-yard reception on the day. He also had 7 targets, so he hauled in all but one. That's all very, very, very good stuff to hear. But then him coming up with that injury, it's going to be, I think, tough to replace that production at a spot that's been leaving you wanting more all this season in the wide receiver position. So, Brian, who can the 49ers look to maybe replace this production? I mean, George Kittle, he still did his thing last week with 88 yards in addition to those Ricky Pearsall 96. So what does George Kittle need to go like $175 in order to replace that production? What do you need from the 49ers wide receivers?
I mean, anybody who listens to Locked On 49ers know me and Crocker say that George Kittle should get 10 targets every game minimum anyway. And he even rarely gets to that, as productive as he's been. So big George Kittle fans, when George Kittle is going, the San Francisco 49ers offense is going. So sure, he can handle more targets if you want to give it to him. And Kittle's going to be Kittle. McCaffrey's going to be McCaffrey. And so the 49ers are fine there. But you know what's interesting? And we've also had this conversation, and it kind of started somewhere around when the 49ers were negotiating with Brandon Ayuk a couple summers ago. And Crocker's take was, and at this point, I don't think that he's wrong, is that Kyle Shanahan, the way he uses wide receivers, I don't think it's smart to pay somebody wide receiver 1 money, because he doesn't utilize his pass catchers really in that way. And maybe if he had another Julio Jones, it would start to look that way. And maybe, it's some of it's on the quarterback as well, and how they take advantage of defenses. But I mean, we've seen 150-yard output from Kendrick Bourne, who was borderline free in the middle of the year. And it's rare that you get somebody that can do that for your offense. I think Demarcus Robinson could handle more carries. So maybe we shouldn't even worry who's outside for the 49ers, because to be honest with you, the 49ers, despite not having Brandon Ayuk, despite having Ricky Pearsall banged up, they still have a top 3 offense in the NFL. And they're not even running the ball all that well with Christian McCaffrey. His yards per carry seems to be going down by 0.1 every single week, right? It's not that he's playing bad football, but maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe as long as you got Kyle Shanahan and a quarterback that can operate the offense and 1 or 2 weapons, which the 49ers still have, no matter who's on the outside playing wide receiver, you're going to be fine. And someone, if you need to give somebody 10 targets, if someone needs to have 150 yards receiving, it almost doesn't matter at this point. They're going to find that player. And it's almost wide receiver agnostic at this point, the way I feel about the San Francisco 49ers offense. Maybe they should stop drafting wide receivers high and stop paying them, because it doesn't seem like it matters all that much.
That's a pretty logical take, man. I mean, wide receiver agnostic. I like that term. I mean, in the more that this season progresses, the way it's been happening, I have nothing to stand on to refute that. I mean, the 49ers have been, this has been something we've talked about every single week, where it's like, it's George Kittle and who else in that wide receiver room that's going to do anything. And is Ricky Pearsall going to step up? But at the end of the day, the 49ers keep winning games, and it doesn't really seem to matter. And that's I don't really know how to explain that, other than Kyle Shanahan is Kyle Shanahan, and he's going to find ways to scheme up and attack defenses no matter who's on his offense. And as long as he's able to run his game, and like you said, have at least 1 or 2 targets and a quarterback who can cerebrally handle that offense, they're going to be just fine. And never in a 49ers season in the Kyle Shanahan era have I been more impressed by a Kyle Shanahan season. I mean, this is absolute masterclass by Kyle Shanahan, getting this offense to where it is right now on the year with the personnel that he's had and the issues that they've had with injuries up front. And it's just a masterclass in how to keep a team competitive in the NFL. And it shows you the importance of coaching. But one other thing before we take a quick break and get on to Phillip Rivers, old man Rivers, and the Indianapolis Colts. Dwayne, I want to talk to you a little bit about the joy that Brock seems to have found in the in this season of his NFL career, because that's a story I've been reading about a lot this week, is that Brock Purdy seems to have kind of learned from Mac Jones how to have a little bit of fun out there. And you saw it on that scramble that he had against the Titans last week, which, by the way, was a career-long rush for Brock Purdy. And at the end of the scramble, where he kind of danced out of a few tackles, he hit the linebacker with like a fake toss of the football, like right at him before he stepped out of bounds. And Brock, they went over and kind of laughed about it immediately after the play.
Too much swag.
Dude, I mean, it was unreal levels of swag. I mean, George Kittle doing the head explosion, hands on the helmet when Brock was doing the Dougie in the end zone. Man, that was basically the same reaction from the entire 49ers sideline when Brock did that little ball fake. I mean, it was almost like he was playing basketball, did like a little fake. It was crazy, but he seems to be having so much fun out there. And I'm curious, when you learned how to have fun in the NFL, did that turn a corner for you in some way? Were you able to kind of look at the game a little bit differently or process things around you a little bit differently? And who was kind of the guy to show you how to have fun in the league?
That's an interesting question, because when you hit this stride and you got your confidence and you said it is what your eyes see, because now he's looking at the field and the entire field instead of just looking at half the field. So now he sees 55 yards. Okay, so when you're looking at when you see the whole wide field, the vision comes to you, and you get the feeling where, hey, I'm in my groove now. And as a defensive lineman, that too, you can get that same feeling too when you line up in front of a guy. He's not in front of you. It's just a block, just a smoke screen, because you're going to defeat that person in front of you, and no matter what. And that's where he is now. I think the game is, what they say, when the game comes to you, the game has come to him. And now he's thinking in the same manner that his play call is with Shanahan. He's thinking, it's like the two brains are working together now. And when back in the day when Joe was clicking and Bill was on, Joe knew what Bill was going to call before he even called the play, and he just ran it. I know one instance where we were in training camp after we went to our first Super Bowl, and we were in training camp, and we had a 2-minute drill, and Joe he drove all the way down to about the 10-yard line. And he called timeout in practice and went over to Bill and said, "Where you want me to call? Where you want me to play, coach? Where you want me to call, coach?" And Bill, he gave Joe a little smirky, "Well, you wrote the book, you call it." Joe came back in in practice, and he dropped back and took off running, ran the ball in. He ran a quarterback draw. And he jogged over to Bill and flipped the ball at him and said, "That's how I made you great."
What a story, man. Oh, I love that. And
so he's in Kyle Shanahan's head now, so he knows what Kyle's going to call.
And I love that. And when you have a quarterback and a coach so in sync like that, man, it can lead to great offensive production, even when you might not have all the talent around that you might have had in past years. And you might actually get better production if the quarterback and the play caller are on the same page, because it just transcends some of these other things, and the timing just clicks, especially in an offense like this. And that's kind of what you're starting to see, I think, from Brock Purdy. Now, last week it was the Titans, and that is one of the worst defenses in the NFL, barring every single according to every single, metric out there. They might not be the worst, but they are certainly one of the worst. And the Colts, I think, are going to pose a little bit tougher test. But I do think that with Brock kind of hitting the stride right now, you're going to see a big game from him on deck against the Colts. I really do think that if we're FanDuel's today's sponsor, so if you're jumping on your FanDuel account looking for some player props, man, hit all of the overs on Brock Purdy, on the touchdowns, on the yards, on the rush yards. I don't care. Just nail all the overs because I think he's going to get it. I think this is going to be a big week from Brock, man. And Dwayne, one last follow-up question along these same lines. Did you have like a vet who kind of like showed you how to have a little more fun in the league and how to kind of loosen up and still be able to play at a high level, kind of like how Mac has shown Brock this year? Or did you just kind of figure that out as you went?
No, we had Fred Dean, and he kept everybody loose. And Fred, he was so cool. He would get a sack and go to the bench, and he would say, "Hey, I'm ready for a smoke now." And it was really he wanted to smoke a cigarette during the game. And said, "Man, this guy talking about smoking a cigarette during the game. What are you doing? Look at the score." He said, "Don't worry about that. We'll take care of business." So, yeah, kept us loose. Yeah.
And that's awesome. Anytime we can get a Fred Dean and a Joe Montana and a Bill Walsh reference from Dwayne Board on all in the same show, I think we're doing all right. You know what I mean?
Bring back cigarettes on the sideline too, man.
I know it. Oh, how about the hot dog on the sideline?
Oh man,
Was it Mark Sanchez trying to hide it?
Yep.
You can't hide eating a hot dog in high def these days, man. What are you doing?
Yeah, that's the first thing I think of anytime I hear Glizzy on the field is Mark Sanchez trying to hide in that big jacket, just eating the hot dog. Man, of all things to rip Mark Sanchez for, I mean, is that really one of them? I mean, there's a lot of other stuff that you could go after Mark Sanchez for.
What a career that guy had, like USC college, first round draft pick. And there's like 9 things that you talk about with him that aren't even about making a play on the field. And if it is about making a play on the field, it's about running into someone's ass right in front of you. Right. So yeah, Mark Sanchez, and the latest with Mark Sanchez is even worse. I mean, that all pales in comparison to the latest with Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, hey, now that's a crazy situation. If you have not boned up on your Mark Sanchez lately, you should.
Puts eating a hot dog on the sideline into perspective.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. You should go check out that the latest experience with the Sanchez. He also went to back-to-back AFC championships, which is wild to even say. Yeah. But man, what a career that guy had! Such a roller coaster. But for the 49ers against the Colts coming up, they're going to have one of those kind of throwback quarterback names, and it's not Mark Sanchez, but it's Phillip Rivers, the guy who was in the league at the same time. So, I mean, old man Rivers, and yeah, I did go with the low-hanging fruit on the background here. Rolling on the Rivers, if you love CCR, of course, that's gonna, it's gonna be the first thing you think of when you hear that, or at least if you have ADHD like me and you love CCR, that's the first thing you're gonna think of. But regardless, we got to talk about the 49ers facing off against old man, literally grandpa Phillip Rivers, 44 years old, commanding the Colts offense. And hey, you almost beat the Seahawks last week. So what's going to happen against the 49ers with Phillip Rivers and the Indianapolis Colts? We're going to have to break that down next here on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Today's show is brought to you by Rocket Money. Ever feel like your money just disappears each month? It happens fast. A few subscriptions here, an impulse buy there, and suddenly the numbers in your bank account don't match the numbers in your head. Rocket Money helps you get clarity, track every dollar, and stay in control of your finances, because managing your money shouldn't feel like a second job. Rocket Money does the heavy lifting for you so you can save more and stress less. Rocket Money finds subscriptions you forgot you were paying for and helps you clean them up quickly. I just realized the other day that I am also paying for Netflix, and my girlfriend and I live together, and we got her Netflix account on everything. And thanks to Rocket Money, I just realized the other day I've been paying for Netflix for a damn year for no reason at all. So shout out Rocket Money, helping me save some money on my monthly bills and getting out some of these unwanted subscriptions. So take control of your finances and cancel your unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, joined by Dwayne Board, 4-time Super Bowl champion, and one half of the Locked On 49ers podcast, Brian Peacock, and multi-time softball, Open D champion?
4-time San Francisco City League softball champion. Thank you very much.
There we go. Brian Peacock, the one and only. And guys, this week, the 49ers got the Indianapolis Colts. They got Phillip Rivers facing off against them. And man, I know that the 49ers have not been able to get quarterbacks on the ground. And I know that Phillip Rivers has got a lightning quick release and probably at 44 years old does not want to get hit at all. But is there any chance the 49ers get him on the ground this week? I mean, he's got to be so limited in his mobility. I mean, he wasn't exactly a fleet-footed guy when he was in his 20s even. So, Dwayne, you think the 49ers are going to be able to get home against Phillip Rivers this week?
Well, they don't have to worry about him scrambling. If they can just get pressure up in his face, anybody can catch him. I could probably run him down. But you got to look at it this way. The 49ers, the thing that I keep repeating every week is they don't run enough stunts up front. If you run stunts against Phillip Rivers and make him have to move, and he won't like that because he's a guy that can stand back there. When you can stand back there and in the pocket, you can get rid of the ball quick. But if you take him off of his rhythm and where rush is coming, then hey, you got a chance. Okay, you got a chance of getting to him. You got a chance of making him spit the ball out quick. And that's the thing they got to do. They got to make him spit the ball out quick. And the 49ers are going to have to come downhill and tackle. And that's it. Keep everything in front of them and hope that the old man don't get a drive going. And when he scored against the Seahawks, it was in a 2-man situation where he was calling his own stuff. So.
Dude, forget Matthew Judon. Dwayne Board's got one more pass rush in him. Let's go. If Phillip Rivers can do it, Dwayne Board, he's got one more in him. I believe that Dwayne is nasty enough that he can get after the quarterback at least one more time. Let's see it.
Well, give me one. All I need is a good tackle. I need a good defensive tackle next to me so he can clear me an opening. So all I got to do is run in and I'll probably burp him, and they'll get me for 15 yards. You can't burp a quarterback no more. So, hey.
I don't even know what a burp is. That's how long it's been since they've been burping guys in the NFL.
Oh, you don't know what a burp is? A burp is when you pick him up and you slam him down.
Okay.
Burping. Okay.
Yeah. Man, I didn't know where you're going with that either, man. But yeah, man. What was the latest you ever thought about? Like, I could still do this. Like, I could still get out there and get after it. I mean, were you sitting there at 44 thinking, I could probably make a roster right now?
Nah, I was probably say around 40. I could say, yeah, I could make it. But now is the quarterback pool that bad that they have to bring back a 44-year-old guy who was living in a rest home?
Let me see if I can find it. I saw a list of first-round quarterbacks that had been benched or were out of the NFL since 2020, and it is an extensive list, man. I mean, just off the top of my head, you got names like Zach Wilson. You got just with the Colts, you got Anthony Richardson. That's another example of a very highly touted quarterback that just got benched really fast in his career. Tua getting benched just, this week he's getting benched in Miami. So there's all these Mac Jones on the 49ers.
That whole draft class except for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, it's been bad evaluating college quarterbacks lately.
And go back and look. When was the last time a quarterback won the Heisman Trophy in the Super Bowl II? I think it must have been Jim Plunkett, right? Was it that far back or no?
Well, it's tough because Brady and Mahomes won all the Super Bowls, and neither one of them won a Heisman. So you got to find some guys in between there. Eli Manning didn't win a Heisman. Brett Favre, no Heisman.
The last guy the last couple guys to do it were not quarterbacks. Charles Woodson, Devontae Smith, Reggie Bush, all those guys won Super Bowls and Heismans, but not as quarterback.
But I'm telling you, I think it was Jim Plunkett. If you think
yeah, I think you might be right. Yeah, because before him it was Staubach in 63 if you're talking about quarterbacks. So I mean, yeah, you're going back pretty far here, man. I mean, it's these quarterbacks have not been working out lately. And I did find the list. It's Tua, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Bryce Young, Kenny Pickett, and Anthony Richardson. I mean, that's all just since 2020 first round quarterbacks that have been benched. And I mean, that's a lot, man. So yeah, I do think that the quarterback pool kind of is that bad right now. And it's kind of funny. I mean, you see just in the workforce these days, like I have a very corporate job during my 9 to 5, and I hear all these, dumb corporate jokes about how all the boomers aren't wanting to train the millennials to take their place in their place of work. And it might be the same thing going on in the NFL, man. All the older guys not wanting to give the tricks of the trade to the younger crop of quarterbacks, maybe.
Absolutely. There's something to it. By the way, 49ers Eddie in the chat says Cam Newton made the Super Bowl, didn't win it though as a Heisman winner. So that's about as close as we've got in recent history.
Yeah. Well, he didn't win it. Yeah.
Did not win it. No rings. Look, when it comes to Phillip Rivers, here's the thing is it's going to be really hard to sack him because he gets the ball out so fast. I don't think he completed a pass beyond 10 yards of the line of scrimmage and might not have completed very many beyond 5 yards of the line of scrimmage against the Seattle Seahawks. And he doesn't want to get hit. He doesn't want to run around. But the thing he's got working for him is he's got his head. And the way people are playing defense these days, and I wonder if the 49ers might challenge him a little bit and say, like, okay, you go deep because we're not going to play. We're not going to treat you like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes because, we're not going to go too deep. We're not going to have this shell where we're going to let you just pick us apart underneath because Phillip Rivers is a smart guy. He knows where the answers are. He's been studying up on not only Shane Steichen's offense, but apparently Kyle Shanahan's offense as well since he's been retired. And I think if you give him free candy, he's going to take it. And so I wonder how the 49ers will watch that, know that he's not going to throw the ball down the field and play that defense accordingly against it because it was very dink and dunk for Phillip Rivers. But he knows where the answers are because he's a really smart quarterback. So the 49ers are going to have to rally up and tackle. And guess what? The thing they weren't good at last week was tackling.
Yeah, and I think that you're right on about about challenging Phillip Rivers to go ahead, throw the ball 20 yards over my head. Do it.
Right.
Show me you can do that. And interesting point to touch on as well there when bringing up the fact that Phillip Rivers is pretty damn familiar with this 49ers offense and their schemes. Kyle Shanahan joked that at one point Phillip Rivers was sitting in on team meetings back in when they were getting ready to maybe find a replacement for Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance, and then all of a sudden Brock Purdy becomes Brock Purdy, and the 49ers didn't need Phillip Rivers. And so what could have been? I mean, Phillip Rivers could have put on the red and gold and maybe quarterback the 49ers on the way to the Super Bowl that year. And maybe in retrospect, it wouldn't have been a bad idea to have him on the roster, considering what happened at the end of that season with the 49ers quarterback situation in that playoff game against the Eagles, which we would all love to forget. But point being, Phillip Rivers is pretty familiar, or at least was pretty familiar at one point with what the 49ers wanted to do offensively. Now he's on a new team, and obviously he's probably going to try and relay some of that to his defensive coordinator. But Dwayne, question for you. If you were that defensive coordinator, say you're Lou Anarumo in Indianapolis, how much information are you really going to be able to glean from Phillip Rivers about like the inner workings of the 49ers offense?
Well, that's been so long ago. I don't think Phillip probably remember. Hey, he's 44 years old. How much does he remember? But the thing that the 49ers can do against him is play a lot of man-to-man because you don't have to worry about him doing what? He's not a scrambler. No. Mm-hmm. You can play some man-to-man, but don't get caught on double move because if he wants to put a double move or back shoulder fade on you, he can do that. He can still throw the back shoulder fade and he can get deep on you also if on double move. But the protection is there because the offensive line does a great job of protecting them because I thought last week he did a great job against Seattle, getting the ball out and not giving up the sack.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get hit. The ball's going to come out quick, and it's going to come out short. I think
when he was young, he didn't want to get hit. He was a coward back then, so yeah, very much so.
he's always had one of the most funky deliveries of any quarterback I can remember watching in my lifetime. It's like he's throwing darts out there. I don't know where he gets zip on the ball from. And now in his grandpa years, he doesn't have much zip anymore. And I'm not just poking fun at him being a grandpa because he's 44. He literally is a grandfather. He legitimately has grandchildren. This man's out here trying to revive his NFL career. But hey, pretty smart move by Phillip Rivers, because he rejoined the NFL just as his health insurance was going to run out, and that 5-year timeline was just about to run out. Pop back in the NFL for a game or two, and all of a sudden that clock restarts again. 5 more years health insurance for Phillip Rivers and family, and with as many kids as he's got, oh man, does he need it too?
Some serious premiums there.
He was up for the Pro Football Hall of Fame too, so he's giving up that Hall of Fame for that insurance.
Hey man, and you can strengthen your case for the Hall of Fame too with making a run here for the Indianapolis Colts. So
do you guys think he's a Hall of Famer?
No, I'm a small Hall guy, so when it comes to like the Russell Wilsons, and it's like, cool, you got a ring, but I don't think just because you get a ring that you get to automatically be in the Hall of Fame, because you already got something for winning a championship. You got the ring, right? And so I'm more of a small Hall guy. If it's not an automatic, then I'm kind of out on those. But as far as voting goes, I still think Rivers right now would be on the outside looking in. He's got some tough competition too, so it might be smart to bypass the 5 years where the Mannings and the Drew Breeses are going into the Hall of Fame. Roethlisberger's got a ring on him, so he would probably go before him as well. And then you come back in 5 years, and hey, maybe you make a run with the Colts this year and strengthen your argument. If let's say Phillip Rivers goes and leads the Colts to a Super Bowl, I think he's an automatic in 5 years for the Hall.
Yeah, that's
what's missing from his resume.
Yeah, I mean, the big glaring piece that's not on there for him is the playoff run. I mean, he had a lot of good teams in San Diego, never quite did the thing. So I mean, and I would tend to agree with you, Brian. I think when you compare him to his contemporaries at the time, he's maybe not even a top 5 quarterback of that era. So I mean, you could make the case that he's not. I mean, you could make a case that he is barely sneaking into that top 5 as well. But
yeah, his numbers look great historically, but the numbers for the newer candidates are so skewed versus what we used to see even in the 90s and especially the 80s and before that. So you can't just look at raw numbers anymore. You got to look at them versus the contemporaries. And I think he does fall a little bit short of being a Hall of Famer. You know, it's funny. You mentioned his release. My guy, co-host for the NFL Six Pack here on the Locked On Podcast Network, Matt Williamson, his son just went off. He's a freshman in college right now. So, 18, 19 years old. And he was 13 or something the last time that Phillip Rivers played quarterback in the NFL. And he was like, what the heck is wrong with his arm? The way he because like people who are adults right now are probably blown away watching Phillip Rivers throw and his throwing motion, being like, what the hell is that? That's an NFL quarterback throwing the football? Because it's easy to forget how crazy his throwing motion was. And it's maybe a little bit more odd now. It's just so much body with the arm coming along for a ride. I guess he started throwing that way when he was a kid because he was playing with the ball that was too big and too heavy for him, and he developed this weird throwing motion. It is very strange, but it's been effective for him. So,
yeah, he's a guy who never really had like a super dominant receiver either. Like he had Vincent Jackson for a few years, but I mean, he was up in the upper echelon of passers in the NFL with guys like Malcolm Floyd leading that receiving core. I mean, I know he had Antonio Gates too, but I mean, there's a lot of years there where he didn't really have a whole lot of pass catchers, but he always had LaDainian Tomlinson back there doing a whole lot out of that backfield. And that's also what really helped him back there. And eerily kind of reminiscent of what you're seeing from the 49ers right now. You got a wide receiver core that's kind of, not a bunch of household names, and you got a dominant future Hall of Fame tight end and a all-world running back. And let's see if we can make it work. And that's what the 49ers have been doing so far. But with the Colts, their offense, like you said, a lot of dinking and dunking. Phillip Rivers averaged 4.4 yards per reception or yards per completion last week against the Seahawks. 4.4, man, that's pretty low. I mean, his leading receiver was Amir Abdullah out of the backfield with 32 receiving yards. He didn't really need that passing offense to do a whole lot because that Colts defense did keep them in the game. Ultimately, the Colts falling to the Seahawks 18-16. They did have a chance there, though, at the end. And I think that's the thing that Phillip Rivers is going to give you if you're the Colts. He's going to give you a chance to win. He's going to keep you in the game. He's not going to turn the ball over a bunch and make a bunch of boneheaded plays. And he's not going to do anything that's out of what he's comfortable doing. And I think that's where the danger lies for the 49ers. If they get a little too if they try to do a little too much on defense, I think that you could maybe run into some trouble there. I think all you got to do is keep the Colts in front of you and try to, maybe this isn't the week to try and force a bunch of turnovers. Maybe this is just the week to focus on tackling and just, not let anybody get over your head or maybe do let them because Phillip Rivers probably can't get the ball there, but just keep everything in front of you if you're the 49ers. And I don't see the Colts being able to keep up with what we saw from the 49ers last week. Dwayne, what are you thinking that you're going to see from the 49ers defense against the Colts in order to try and stop them? I know you're saying man coverage, but specifically who are they going to try and target? Who are they trying to shut down? If the Colts are able to get going, who's the one guy that's going to be able to do that, and how do the 49ers prevent that from happening?
Well, the 49ers, I said it earlier, is they're going to have to come out and play some man-to-man. And the Colts running game is kind of scary because they do a good job of running the ball and getting him in a manageable third down situation where you talk about, at 4 yards a catch. If he can run the ball, first and second down and pick up, 7 yards, then, hey, he can throw the ball on third down and make the completion and no problem. And that's the thing that the 49ers are going to have to do is put him in long yardage. And can they do it? After last week's against the Tennessee Titans, you was a little worried about them stopping the run against the Titans. And I think with the Colts, they have a much better running game than the Tennessee Titans. So that's going to be the thing is keeping him in an uncomfortable third down situation.
And the Colts were able to, or the Seahawks, excuse me, were able to keep Jonathan Taylor bottled up a little bit last week. He still finished with 87 yards on 25 carries, only 3.5 yards per carry, and his longest rush only went for 11 yards. So the Seahawks had a relatively good game plan to stop Jonathan Taylor or at least contain him. And I think the 49ers, like you said, that's going to be the biggest point for them on defense is stopping this run game from the Colts. And I want to see, 7 in the box, like at least every single down. Like I want to see them challenge Phillip Rivers to beat them in the pass game and don't let the run game beat you. If you're the 49ers, you can play sound run defense like you were saying earlier, Brian, make tackles when they're in front of you and don't miss. That's been a kind of a thing that's reared its head a few times for the 49ers this season. It's bad tackling games. If they don't have a bad tackling game against the Colts, I think they win this one. And I think they win this one pretty handedly. The 49ers are not big favorites in this one, but they are favorites on the road. So I think that's a good sign for this team. But I don't know, man. There's a little bit of lingering. Can Phillip Rivers, maybe engineer something here? Like if it gets down to the last drive and Colts get the ball and all they need is a field goal to win, I know I am not going to feel very comfortable as a 49er fan if Phillip Rivers has a chance to go down the field and win the game at the very end. Brian, are you expecting this to be a tight one, or do you think the 49ers might be able to put some space between them and the Colts?
Yep, I do kind of expect this to be a tight one just because of the way both of these teams play. And Dwayne talked about it a little bit right there. Like the game is how you play against Jonathan Taylor, right? Like that's what their offense is made out of. The 49ers offense is made out of Christian McCaffrey. It's run first and it sets up everything else. If the 49ers have a really poor tackling game and Jonathan Taylor goes off, it's going to be a long day for the 49ers and it's going to be really tough. And so it's a big challenge. And Robert Saleh has done a phenomenal job, even with the injuries to Nick Bosa and Fred Warner for how good the defense has played. They're kind of showing some cracks right now, and that run defense is one of them. I wouldn't mind seeing more CJ West on the field. I know he's a rookie. He only played 14 snaps, I think, last week, but man, the guy is stout against the run and can take on blocks. That has to be first and foremost that's 1, 2, and 3. Like Philip Rivers can dink and dunk all day, do whatever he wants. But if you're not stopping the run, that's ball game for you if you're the 49ers. And the Seahawks did a good job and still almost lost the game against Jonathan Taylor, 3.5 yards per carry on his 25 carries. So, and Dwayne, I guess I would ask you that because you're not scared of Philip Rivers going over the top of you, so you can kind of play some man coverage and play tight there. But you might want to play a little more zone to have more eyes on the backfield to stop the running game too. So how do you go more, zone on early downs, man, and later downs, or is it all about run fits for the 49ers right now? Is it all about just attitude and want to as far as tackling guys? Because this is the biggest test they've had as far as running backs this year.
You hit it. I think it's about attitude. I think it's about wanting to hit somebody. And, it's a game that you want to be able to keep eyes on the ball carrier. So like you said, Brian, you can play your zone coverages on first and second down. But when it comes to third down, you want to be in man-to-man as much as you can because you know that, hey, Phil Rivers is not going to beat you with his legs, okay? And the thing that they faced against the Titans was a moving quarterback. And when you got a moving quarterback, it seems like that gives the 49ers coverage the hardest thing to cover because those guys don't know how to plaster. Because when you get a quarterback that can move and keep the play alive, that's when they give up the big play. And if you can keep them in a position where everything is in front of you, they shouldn't have a problem. But as far as it's one of those games where you're not going to be able to fool disguise much with Philip Rivers because he's going to figure out the coverages right away, as far as what the quarterback is looking at. And I think you can go in and play a 5. I would play 5 down because against the run and make it simple for them because that's the easiest thing to do. It's almost playing a short yardage defense against these guys. And, and Eric, you said at first, it's like, hey, it's going to be one of those games where, it's going to be your man against our man.
Dwayne, can you burp a running back?
Oh, yeah, you can burp him, too. You can burp anybody.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
You can burp him. Just pick him up and slap him on the ground.
Yeah, he can get some, too, then. Yeah, I like it.
And one thing that you brought up third down there for when talking about trying to keep the Colts out of those short third down situations by limiting Jonathan Taylor. I think third down is going to be obviously critical to try and limit Jonathan Taylor in that situation, but also going to be really key for the 49ers offense to be able to convert on third down because that's an area where the Colts defense really shined last week. I mean, they held the Seahawks to just 2 of 13 on third down. So that's going to be a huge point for the 49ers. And the way they did that, by limiting that Seattle run game so heavily. I mean, like I said, Kenneth Walker, who yours truly started in a fantasy football playoff game, averaging below 2 yards per carry. Not what you want to see if you were, unfortunately a Seahawks fan. But for the 49ers, it's also not really what you want to see because that means that this Colts defense is flying around in the run game. And Zach Charbonnet didn't fare much better than Kenneth Walker, only 31 yards on 8 carries. Longest run of that game, 8 yards for Seattle. So, I mean, really doing a great job bottling up that rushing attack in Seattle. And I'm not saying that Christian McCaffrey is comparable to Zach Charbonnet or Kenneth Walker because he is far superior to both of those running backs. But this is a good defense, at least in the run. Maybe in the past you can get something there, but it might not be the best situations for the 49ers if you're stuck in those third and longs, because as the Colts proved last week, that defense is more than capable of rising to that challenge and stuffing you on third down. So going to be a big key for the 49ers to convert on third down. And speaking of keys, why don't we get into some keys to this game on the other side here on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Going to take a quick break, and on the other side, more breakdown of this game coming up. You got the Indianapolis Colts and the San Francisco 49ers coming up next weekend, or this weekend rather, and the 49ers can pretty much clinch a playoff spot with a win. So we will see what happens, and we got more to break down coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast in one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment, and it lets you play live spreads and money lines as they adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up, and you can bet things like next touchdown scores, drive result totals, and even more. It keeps you locked in on every snap, every drive, every possibility. And this week, 49ers 2.5-point favorites against the Colts. Now, with Phillip Rivers at the quarterback, I do think it's going to be a close game. I think Rivers isn't going to make that big detrimental play to really put the Colts behind the 8 ball, as we just finished talking about. But I do think that the 49ers are going to win by a field goal. I'm pretty solid about that. I think the 49ers will absolutely lay the 2.5 points and hit for you if you take the 49ers minus 2.5. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, joined by 4-time Super Bowl champion Dwayne Board and one half of the Locked On 49ers podcast, Brian Peacock. And I'm feeling pretty good about this 49ers team right now. I mean, the way that they've been playing lately is pretty solid. I mean, they've had kind of a little bit of a cupcake schedule recently, though. The last 4 games, Cardinals, Panthers, Browns, Titans, a lot of mediocrity or subpar opponents there compared to what they're going to be facing at the end of this season, which is the Colts, the Bears, and the Seahawks. The quality of competition goes up, but the 49ers get a little bit of a break because of the Daniel Jones injury. Indiana Jones having just one hell of a season and one hell of a nickname also. I'm a big nickname guy, and as I, the whole Triple E thing, can thank Brian Murphy for that one. But I'm a big nickname guy. So I love the fact that you got the Indiana Jones nickname. It's one of my favorite nicknames in all of football. And it was a cool little story, and a bummer for the Colts, and I think for all of football when you have a guy like that gets hurt in the middle of kind of like a resurgence and a little bit of a comeback. But bygones for the 49ers, they get a much better matchup for from their perspective against the Colts this weekend, and I think that's going to help them a lot, because if you win, you got a 99% chance to make the playoffs. According to NFL.com, more than 99% chance to make the playoffs. So a big week for them this week. Also, if you're doing a little scoreboard watching around the NFL, the Rams and the Seahawks facing off against each other. So either way, you have another situation where the 49ers can just win this week. They're going to move up a little bit in the standings, either a little bit closer to having a shot at overtaking first place in the NFC West, or leapfrogging the Seahawks in the standings altogether if the Seahawks lose against the Rams. So either way, that game is going to produce a positive outcome for the 49ers. But just kind of like a temperature check, I said earlier in the show, I'm feeling really good about the 49ers. The longer that this streak of solid play goes on, the more I'm kind of feeling like this is a team that could maybe make some noise in the NFL playoffs. So, Dwayne, I want to start with you, and Brian, we'll have you answer basically the same question next. What do you think that the 49ers chances are at making a deep run and maybe hosting a Super Bowl at Levi's that they themselves are playing in? Dwayne, how do you think that that's a realistic thing or coming into focus for the 49ers?
Well, the first thing is for them to make it that far, they're going to have to win on the road, okay? And to win on the road, that means that right now, who's the number one team in the NFC? It's going to be that team. It's going to be the team that you're going to have to deal with is going to be the Rams. So I think, the 49ers are playing great football when we talk about football in December. Okay. That's when the teams show up. Playoff teams, they tend to take another step. Yeah, for some reason. And the 49ers right now, we're looking at, they've taken that step, but, they got to show it down the road. So we got the Rams and the Seahawks playing, and they shouldn't be looking back at that game. The 49ers don't even pay attention to that game. You got to look at who you got left, okay? You got the Colts, you got the Bears, all right? And then you have the Seahawks at the end of the season. So those are the teams that's going to dictate to you, your team, is how good you are when the playoffs start. If you take care of business there, then you got a chance to go a lot farther than a lot of people think you're going to go. Because those are teams.
Yeah, that's kind of the same philosophy I was talking about earlier. Was the right team getting hot at the right time? And Brian, are you feeling the same way, that the 49ers are hitting their stride at the right time? And this could be maybe this is the year, the most unlikely of years. Maybe this is it.
I mean, you want to believe. I've put it this way before. I think you look at all the teams in the tournament in the NFC, and I think there's flaws everywhere. And I think the 49ers can beat any of those teams and have already beaten a couple of those teams. They've also lost to some of those teams. And some of the losses the 49ers have this year, and there's not that many, but when they lost to the Texans, man, the Texans looked like they were just flat out better. When they lost to the Rams, even though they had beat them earlier on in the season, the Rams looked like they were in a different division than the 49ers.
Yep.
The Buccaneers, who are playing awful football right now, they kind of thumped the 49ers. Like, man, I don't know if the 49ers are a playoff team, if that's what a playoff team is. But then other weeks, the 49ers look really good and have won a lot of football games. So you want to believe. So I think they can beat just about anybody, but I think just about anybody can beat them too. So the question is, when you're talking about making a deep run, is winning game after game after game against these playoff teams. And I just don't see it in the 49ers as much as I want to believe. And as Michael points out here, it's hard not to watch that Seattle Seahawks and Los Angeles Rams Thursday nighter, Dwayne, because if the Seahawks win that game and the 49ers handle their business the next 2 weeks, the 49ers are talking about playing against the Seahawks, just like they did in 2019, for the West and for the 1 seed home field advantage in the playoffs, which would be hugely helpful for the San Francisco 49ers. So there's still a lot to be decided potentially. This could be a lot of fun down the stretch.
Yeah, man. I think all the stars are aligning, right? And I do think that I personally think the Seahawks are going to beat the Rams this weekend, or on Thursday Night Football tomorrow. And I do think that the balance of power is going to kind of shift, because while I do think the Rams are a very good football team this year, might be the best team on paper in the NFC. It definitely looked like it right now. The only team in the NFC to have already clinched a playoff spot, sitting there at 11-3. But I do think that this is something that I think the Seahawks are perfectly capable of beating this Rams team. They are also 11-3. So, I mean, this is a very good team. And hey, 49ers have beaten both these teams already this season, like you said, Brian. So I think
Niners sorry to interrupt, Eric. Niners have a tiebreaker too. So
yes, they do.
Whoever loses that game, if the 49ers win, both of those teams will be 11-4, and the 49ers will be above that team. So the Niners are going to be 5 seed.
And the 49ers also can do a little bit more for their psyche, I think, in these last 3 weeks, right? Because you're playing 3 teams that I mean, maybe not the Colts at this point, but everybody else. I mean, the Colts are right on the bubble. They're currently out of the playoffs in the AFC, and I do think that the Texans are going to beat them out down the stretch. Their outlook is pretty bleak at making the playoffs. They're still technically alive out there in the AFC, but one borderline playoff team, 2 for sure playoff teams in the Bears and the Seahawks in the final 3 weeks of the season. I think these last 3 weeks are going to tell you a lot about this 49ers team. Like Dwayne was saying, football in December, when it matters most, when these are all basically playoff games and you're basically playing all playoff teams. So the 49ers, you could say playoffs are basically starting right now this week. If you are the San Francisco 49ers, like I know, Dwayne, you would agree with me in that, in saying that December football right now is playoff football for the 49ers. So this is a huge, huge, huge game for them this week. And hopefully it ends in a 49er win and a little bit of climbing up that standings, the NFC standings for the 49ers, and they can slide right into that 5th seed. And maybe, just maybe, the last week this season, playing the Seahawks for that number 1 overall seed in the NFC, probably. And that would just be a great situation for the 49ers to find themselves in after this whole season of chaos and turmoil and injuries. And it doesn't matter. They're still there at the end of the season. And I cannot say enough about how great of a job Kyle Shanahan has done to have this team in this position at this point in the season, man. We got to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll wrap up the show, send you on your way to hopefully a nice 49ers victory on Sunday or on Monday, correct? They're playing on Monday this week. Monday Night Football prime time for 49ers and Colts. We'll see how it goes. We'll be right back here on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, joined by my guys, Dwayne Board, 4-time Super Bowl champion, and Brian Peacock, host of the Locked On 49ers podcast. And guys, we missed our Sunday show. Weren't able to get it in. I was on a nice little vacation down in Austin, Texas, to go see Billy Strings and playing some bluegrass music. And man, I'm not a big bluegrass guy, but Billy Strings is on another level, and I can't encourage everybody enough to go check out some Billy Strings, because oh my God, it just blew my absolute brain out of my head. I mean, it blew the doors off the Moody Center, and which also very impressive facilities down there at UT. The Moody Center, that looked like an NBA stadium to me. Arena, where the Longhorns hoops team plays. It very, very, very nice. Establishment they got down there in Austin, but had a great time. We'll be back for the rest of our shows on Sunday this season, and we definitely won't be missing any playoff games or anything like that. So just want to let you guys know that we're not going to be out anymore the rest of the season. So good. It was I figured we would be a little safe with the Niners playing the Titans. We wouldn't see anything too unexpected, and thankfully that's exactly how it went. But hopefully,
did you see Arch Manning at the show?
I did not see Arch Manning, but you know who I did see is former MLB pitcher Bud Norris and Cal Poly legend Bud Norris. And yeah, we actually have a mutual friend, and so we hung out during the show a little bit. And shout out Bud Norris, man, for a Cal Poly alum like myself. That was pretty cool, man. He's was a journeyman in the same way that like Kerry Collins was a journeyman. Not like no disrespect throwing that term out there. He helped a lot. He was an important bullpen piece for a lot of good teams in Major League Baseball in his time. Started his career with the Astros, ended up, I think, played his last season with the Cardinals and played with several teams in between. But yeah, dude, for a Cal Poly guy like me, and also he's a local guy. He's from Marin, so we ended up having some mutual friends, and one thing led to another, and there we were at a Billy String show in Austin, Texas.
Heck yeah, shout out Bud Norris.
So we'll see how the 49ers Colts matchup goes on Monday night. Real quick before we get on out of here, I'm going to give you my final score prediction. I'm going to go 49ers 17, Colts 14. They win by a field goal. Dwayne, what are you feeling on this one?
Well, I'm feeling 49ers 27, Colts 25.
25. I would be impressed if the Phillip Rivers Colts are able to put up 25. What do you think, Brian? What do you think the 49ers Colts is gonna be?
I'm kind of right in between you guys. I got 2017 49ers. I do like this one for the 49ers to pull out maybe an Eddie Pinheiro field goal in the end to crush Phillip Rivers' dreams with a field goal for 2 straight weeks. And by the way, DeForest Buckner, he's been on IR. He's got a neck injury. He actually practiced last week, wasn't able to play. You think he's going to try to get himself right and get ready to go against the 49ers? I bet he'll be out there.
Yeah, I mean, I missed you, man. Yeah, I wish that I know that situationally it made sense to move on from him at the time, but that's just one of those moves where I just wish they could have found a way to keep him, man. He was such a huge piece for that D-line. such a versatile pass rusher and run stopper. He could do a little bit of everything inside, outside, and he was just a tree in the middle of that line, man. He had just ginormous arms, and Dwayne, man, I mean, a guy that big, he's able to move mass like that. I mean, the 49ers could use that in the middle of the D line right now.
Oh, they would love to have him right now. But then who did they replace him with? They replaced him with the guy from Philly, didn't they?
Well, they replaced him with Javon Kinlaw first.
Yep.
In reality, the replacement was right there on the roster, and Eric Armstead, who kind of ended up moving back inside full time, which kind of should have been the move immediately. And then they tried to fix the Javon Kinlaw mistake with that free agent signing Hargrave, and which also kind of turned out to be a mistake. He was a good player, but didn't quite hit the way they paid him to be.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the 49ers are able to do. We'll see if Defoe gets on the field to face off against his former team. And we'll see if old man Rivers can get rolling on the Rivers against the 49ers. Hopefully the defense can shut this one down. Hopefully Brock Purdy can exploit some of those holes in the Indianapolis pass defense. And this can turn into yet another 49ers win, and which would equate to the 49ers make the postseason. And that would just be, I think we're already pretty much there with the balls at the 1 yard line, but just get it in, man. Let's finish the last 2 weeks of the season just worrying about playoff positioning rather than if they're in or not. And let's not leave that to anybody else to decide, or for the 49ers to have to go out there and beat the Bears or the Seahawks to make it. Let's just finish it this week. Make us all nice and easy. We'll get to see it in prime time Monday night on ESPN and ABC. And with that, that's all the time that we got for you guys today here on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, joined by my guys Dwayne Board and Brian Peacock, and we will see you next time. Peace.